Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Last time I told you guys about my experience on the only office job that I did ever since I've been abroad, and I also promised you guys that my next video will be about the reasons why the job did not last. So today that is what we are going to talk about. But I want you guys to know that having an office job, to some of us who grew up in local areas, is like actually a dream come true, okay? And this is because while we were growing, the kind of work that we did was so hard. I mean, we had to use a lot of physical force, human labor. We did subsistence farming, actually using rudimentary tools to actually do the work, tilling the soil, the harvesting, everything, the weeding part and all that. It was just so not just time consuming, but it was so hard. Like the effort that we put in was just too much for the amount of harvest that we had. But that was the only choice that we had. We knew about doing businesses, actually buying things in wholesale and selling them in order to make profit. But where was the capital to do all that? So our dream was to one day, after school, have a job where we are going to use less energy, like just sitting in an office and using the computer to actually work. When I traveled to Belgium, I came as a student. So I had a student stay, but this student stay was just a temporary stay, okay? It was valid only for the period of time that I was studying. Now, after studies, you cannot use that same paper to work. So what actually happened to me is this. While I was studying, I tried to find out which possible ways were there to actually have a permanent residence, so that after my school I can actually look for a job and just stay in the country. Well, I came to understand that in Belgium, if you stay there legally for 5 years and you have integrated socially and economically, like working, paying taxes and contributing to the economy, if you have learned the language and you can actually communicate and work with it. And I studied the language for 1 year at the university, and I actually had a level 5 certificate studying Netherlands. Okay, so there were lots of things. There were these conditions. You have to study the language, you must have worked, you must have integrated very well, and you must have stayed there legally for 5 years with no criminal record, all those things. So I looked at all these conditions and I said, well, I've stayed in this country for 5 years at least, and I've met up with all these conditions. So why not apply for a permanent residence through regularization? So actually I did apply for it, but during my last year of studies, my student stay was still valid, of course. So immediately after school, I applied for a job, and they told me that my student stay is still valid, but it's going to expire within a year. So they gave me this job at Dynamo, and they told me that the job will be just for 3 months, but after I've renewed my stay, they will be able to extend the contract. So while I was working, I knew I was supposed to go and extend my papers. But then, since I was not studying anymore in the country, I could not go back to school just for the sole purpose of renewing my student stay. So I went to the council and I told them that I made an application on having a permanent resident because I fulfilled all the conditions. So I don't know if the results are out. They told me that, but they sent me a letter some months ago. I said, yes, I received the letter saying that my application was admissible. Okay, yes, it was admissible, but the letter did not say the response was positive, like that was the final decision. No, it was just saying that they have accepted my application. You understand? So they told me now at the council that with that letter I can come to the council and get an orange card. An orange card is just like a temporary card which you can be using in the country while waiting for a final decision on a certain procedure. So that orange card was usually valid for, I think the first one was valid for 6 months. Then after that you have to renew it to 3 months. They start renewing it every 3 months. So they told me that I can actually use that letter to get an orange card. So I took the letter, went to the commune, went to the council. I call it commune because that is how they call it there. So I went to the council, they gave me this orange card. Not a permanent document, okay? So you have to, with that document, you can, if your parents are not Belgians, you cannot work with that document. If you are a foreigner like me, with that document you can stay in the country, but you cannot really work. You can only work if your partner has a working permit. So they will also give you a working permit with that document. But if your partner is not, and at that time I was just a student, did not have any partner or anything, so I was not supposed to work with that paper. So that is how my work contract was not extended. They told me that since my student stay is valid for less than 6 months, they cannot extend my contract. And the orange card that I had on the other procedure that I was following was not really, enough. The stay there was not enough for them to give me a long-term contract for my job. So that was how I lost the job, and life became difficult again. So guys, that is how my office job ended. I stayed in the country again for some few months, but because I knew that since the final decision for the permanent resident is negative, it means there is no need staying there anymore. I'm not going to school there. I want to continue my school in the UK, but then I could not afford it, so I just have to go somewhere else and try to start life back all afresh. And that is how I left Belgium finally some months later. So guys, you see, as a foreigner, when you are out there in the world trying to, make a life for yourself and all that, you have to think very well. What do you really want? Are you going out there to study and go back to your country? If that is the case, then you don't have any problem. You just have to focus on your study, have good grades so that you'll be able to pass and be able to renew your stay, because in some countries, if you don't pass, they will not renew your stay. So you focus on your studies, get your degrees, then you go back to your country and do whatever you want to do there if they have jobs. But in my own country, there is no guarantee that if you go back to your country, there will be a job for you. You understand? So it was a pity, but that is just how it happened. So, and another thing is that you have to know that student stay is not a permanent stay. So if you are one of us who go out there to study, look with the intention of looking for a job over there and make a life, you have to know that when you reach that country, while you are going to school, you have to be thinking of other ways to have, your permanent residence too. Because if you do not start looking for those other means at the very beginning of your stay in that country, time will catch you short. It is not easy. So I don't know if this story is going to help someone out there, but I decided to share it anyway, just so you know that living out of your country is not easy. There is a lot of limitations to what you want to do, because just the fact that you don't have a stay, you are not a citizen of that country, know that there will always be conditions to anything you want to do. And if you don't meet up with those conditions, you will not be able to do them. Even if that is the only thing you want to do in your life, you might still not do it. Yeah, the only place where you can freely do something that you really want to do is in your own country. Yes, but if the country is not economically stable, if the country does not have jobs for youth, you can't continue staying in a place where there is no hope for you. You have to go out there and try to accept the little that you get. So guys, I will not take much of your time. Thank you for listening to my story and being able to give me some advice. I've had 3 contacts, people I never knew, who contacted me and tried to tell me ways on how to have a better life out here, even though I'm living in a country where the pay is not so much, but they try to give advice on what to do. And I have already embarked on one of the ideas already, but it is still too early for me to talk about it. But I'll come back to you people to explain exactly what I'm doing to better my situation. So I thank you guys for always being there for me, giving me a listening ear and all that. And I just hope we are going to go through this journey together. Thank you very much, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye bye.